Okay, let's call this meeting to order. I'd like to call the meeting of the Town Council for Thursday, February 24th to order. If you would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Call to order, announcements. By way of announcements, the upcoming Town Council meetings, Thursday, March 10th at 7 p.m. is a regular meeting here, and then Thursday, March 24th at 7 p.m. Here in this room is a regular meeting. Important dates to remember: Wednesday, February 23rd, which was yesterday, through Friday, March 4th at 5 p.m. is the filing period for town offices to be elected at town meeting on April 12th, 2022. So again, that's from yesterday until Friday of next week at 5 p.m. at the town offices over at the town clerk's office to sign up for any of there's quite a few openings if you're planning to run. Wednesday, March 9th at 7 p.m. in the all-purpose room at James Mastrocola Upper Elementary School, located at 26 Babusick Lake Road, will be the deliberative session, which is the first session of our two-session annual town meeting. That's the announcements I have. Paul, do you have anything?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. The Merrimack Public Library scheduled a NH Humanities presentation of Covered Bridges of New Hampshire with local historian Glenn Knobloch on Wednesday, April 13th at 6:30 over Zoom. The event will be posted on the library's event calendar soon, and you are welcome to register on the website once it's live. The Parks and Rec Department invites you to join them Saturday, February 26th for the 30th Annual Winter Carnival at Wasserman Park from 12 to 3 p.m. They currently have more than 20 different businesses and community groups providing free games, crafts, and other activities. As part of this event, they will also be hosting a State of New Hampshire COVID vaccination clinic in the function hall. There will be Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer vaccines for adults, young adults, ages 12 to 18 years old, and young children 5 to 11 years old. No appointments are necessary. If you have any questions, please contact Parks and Rec Department at 603-882-1046. And I think Matt's happy that there actually is going to be snow on the ground for this winter carnival.
That'll be a
if
first.
I can say that. And
For the winter carnival?
for the winter carnival. But then again, I don't know if he is really happy about the snow. So, as we all know, we have an impending snowstorm coming into the town early tomorrow morning through end of around midnight tomorrow night. Due to the impending snowstorm, town offices will be closed tomorrow, Friday, the 25th of February.
Okay. Any questions on the announcements? Seeing none, we'll move on. Comments from the press and public? Seeing none, we'll move on. We have no recognitions, resignations, or retirements, nor appointments for this evening, which brings us to our public meeting. We have a public hearing on the Bear Christensen Fund acceptance submitted by Chris and Lynn Christensen. The Town Council will hold a public hearing to authorize the acceptance of the amount of, but not to exceed, $12,000 for the Bear Christensen Fund pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article 8-15.
Have a seat.
Okay.
He always wants you there. Come on.
You never know.
Yeah.
Anyway, for the record, I'm Chris Christensen. This is my wife, Lynn, and we're pleased to be here. Since the Bear Christensen Fund was accepted by the town, There have been some additional donations that have come in, and the total amount is over $10,000, so a public hearing is required, and we're here just to accept that money and put it into the fund.
Okay. Paul?
How would you like the money in the fund, Chris? Is it all going to principal? Are you breaking it out 50/50 with interest?
Well,
How is
we-
that?
we-
Because I know we need that in the minutes as well.
historically, we have left that up to the donor. In this particular case, there's going to be 5,000 going into income and the balance going to principal. And I don't have a final amount yet because I'm told there's another check in the mail.
But $5,000 is going into income portion of it. The remainder, whatever that will be, was going into your principal.
Principal, exactly.
And the
But
principal
basically, for
stays
those who
fixed.
don't follow this stuff real closely,
Yes.
the reporting format from the state for these funds has sort of a left side of the screen and a right side of the screen. And principal is on the left. The income from that goes into the right side of the screen, but they don't cross back and forth. So the money that's on the income side is immediately expendable for whatever purposes it was donated for, whether it's perpetual care or a scholarship or some other. But that's why the two things are,
But the principal side
managed
doesn't
separately.
get touched.
they're managed
It
separately,
just
yes.
grows. Okay. Are there any questions from the council? We'll open the public hearing at 7:14 to see if there's anybody that has any comments or suggestions relative to donations into the Bear Christensen Fund.
I do have one point for clarification. So we're here for a public hearing because the dollar amount is $10,000 or more. And my understanding is that if we have future donations that are less than $10,000, whether it's 10 of them for $100 each or whatever the numbers happen to be, as long as it's under $10,000, there's no public hearing required at that point. But if we have another large donation or accumulated large donations all at the same time, then we would have to have another public hearing.
Yeah. Now, it's my understanding that we still need to have a public meeting to accept the funds into the fund. Is that your
That's
understanding?
not
or
my understanding.
Okay.
There is a public meeting component of it, yes. There is anything under 10,000, you would have to have a public meeting, meaning that it would just be agended, like we do when we get the $150.
It could be a consent agenda, but
yeah,
it could be an
with
agenda item.
agenda item on it. If it's over 10,000, the state says, the RSA state that we have to have a public hearing. So what Chris is talking about is that if he gets $105 donations, it would come in front of the council as a regular business agenda item. It wouldn't be a public hearing. But if he gets a donor of $100,000, that would come in front of the council as a public hearing.
For a public hearing, so the public could be notified and could
It has
comment
to
if
be
they wanted
posted
to.
and all of the other stuff that,
Yeah,
that's
it would have to be
associated
posted
with
in the
that.
newspaper, otherwise it just goes into our agenda and is posted with our agenda. But we've talked before about whether or not we could just have it in perpetuity, that you could accept funds into the fund. And my understanding is that that can't be, that it has to actually come to an agenda item before the council.
well, actually from the Charitable Trust Division Director, he says you could make a motion that would allow future donations without a public meeting or hearing. And
All
we
right,
we
we'll
have
have to- we'll have to
followed that
review that.
procedure for many, many years, long before I was ever involved in any of this stuff. That the Watson Fund, for example, contributes scholarship money every year, but there's never a public hearing or anything because it was apparently way back when accepted with the provision that future monies would be accepted.
Okay?
So
Um,
it's up to you,
we'll have-
and that's
we'll-
how
We'll
how we
research
get
that a
it
little
from
bit
Tom
more to make
Donovan.
sure we understand, but last I saw it, it said the other way, so.
You're gonna get the money regardless.
Yes, I understand that, and I'm not concerned about it. I'm just trying to make sure we cross the Ts and dot the Is. Anyway, so we'll close the public hearing, seeing no one coming to talk at 7:17. Is there any other comments from the council? a motion to accept the donation? Or
I would make a motion, but what I normally would do is, look, with this agenda item, it says to move to authorize the acceptance of the amount of, but not to exceed, oh, okay. I'll move,
12,000.
yeah, when I was reading it a little earlier, it didn't make sense to me. Sorry about that. I move that we authorize the acceptance of the amount of, but not to exceed $12,000 for the Bear Christensen Fund pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8, Section 15.
5,000 going, you need that?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
with 5,000,
5,000
going
into the
to-
income portion and the remainder or the balance into the principal?
yes.
Okay, is that motion by Finley, seconded by Andy? Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 700.
Thank you very
Chris.
much.
Appreciate it.
And while you're here, I want to express appreciation to you for the fund and what you do with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
What I'd like to do, since Len is here and sitting in the chair already, is, well, so I'd like to pull in item number 4 under new business to, right now, if there's no objection from the council, to talk about the deliberative session and kind of get that item out of the way. We appreciate you being here, Len, just in case there's any updates or anything that we need to know about.
Well, I did the same thing with the school board yesterday,
Oh, okay.
and we're gonna do the same thing. I've done the same thing. I'm going back 30-plus years.
Yep.
We've done the town meeting, the school meeting, the water district meeting, the same every year. And I think the town is used to how we're doing this. They're used to being polite, respectful, and it works well. Now, we've gone from traditional town meeting to official town meeting to SB2, but it's all gone the same, and we've done the same thing. So we will have the town meeting. The school is on
The 8th?
Tuesday. We're on Wednesday. It will be the same rules. Everything runs the same way. I will require masks. So in any case, that's the big question. You're gonna have to, yes, you have to have a mask. And if you can't or won't wear a mask, then what you do is, instead of coming out in the main entry, you will go down the side, past the dumpsters, around to the back. There will be a section in the back of the room that will be roped off for anybody who can't or won't wear a mask. They will not be excluded from the meeting, they will be included. There's a mic there that if they want to speak, they can speak, but they will be relegated to that area of the meeting. And this is, I'm not going to go on to the science of this or anything else. It's just, I want to make everybody feel comfortable in the meeting, and we've done this for 2 years. I haven't had a problem. Everybody has been okay with it. I'm going to ask you guys that when you come into the meeting, you help us at the entry to get people with masks, and you got an issue, come get me. They know not to argue with me. It works. So, but I'm gonna ask you to help us get the people in, and I'm gonna assume that Paul can get us masks if we need them. I'm gonna ask for sanitizers so that if somebody's coming and speaking in a mic, somebody will be doing the mic, so that we're trying to be polite. We're trying to be respectful of everybody in their opinions and doing what makes sense. So it's worked for the past 2 years. I think it will work again, and we'll just go from there.
Okay,
We have the mask, we have the hand sanitizer,
Yep.
we have all that stuff. We'll just make sure it's over Do you need it for both sessions or just ours?
Well,
All
I think the school has it as well.
right, so we'll just bring it over for ours on the ninth.
Yep, and I will coordinate between the two, so. If you are not on the checklist, and this is an issue because we just went through the 10-year purge.
Oh.
So if you have not voted in the past 10 years, just because you didn't see anybody on the ballot you wanted to vote, or whatever reason, you were dropped off the checklist. You don't have any option to go to town meeting or school district meeting to get onto the checklist because the date is passed. The last time you could go onto the checklist was the 22nd, which is, what, 3 days ago? Anyway, so at elections, you can come in and you can register to vote at the election. So if you were dropped, you can come into the election and you can, and register to vote. You can't do that for town meeting or school district meeting. If you're not on the checklist, you're dead. You're done. It's not gonna happen.
So to speak.
Thank you
For,
for changing
for
that
whatever
word.
it is, you're not going to come in, you can't come in and you can't come in and vote. Now, the number of people we have coming in and voting is very, very minimal, so it's probably not an issue. But if you got dropped off the checklist, you can come into town hall, get back onto the checklist, or you can come in and, on the election day and get back on and register. That's not an issue. We're gonna let you vote. But not at school or town meeting. If you're not on the checklist now, and you can go onto the Secretary of State's website, and I've posted that link. If you're not there, you're not gonna get a card that says, I can vote.
So are you gonna not let anybody in unless they're
Oh,
on the
no,
checklist?
you can come in.
You can come in, you
Oh,
just
yeah.
can't vote.
You just can't,
Just
you
can't
don't get a
hold up
card to hold up and vote.
Okay.
Lon?
Yeah, I just want to be sure that everybody understands, when you're talking about school and town meeting, you're talking about school and town deliberative session?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm not talking about election day. I'm talking about the 8th and the 9th, that if you're not on the checklist now, you can't get onto it. But typically, it's not an issue
Right.
because we don't, since we went to SB2 and town council, and it's not an issue. But election day, you can come in, and if you got dropped off the checklist, you can re-register, and you can vote. We're not gonna prevent you from voting. I do everything I can to make sure that people can vote. Always have,
But to register, you need some form of identification.
yes.
And to
Or
vote.
you need to know
To
who I
register to
am.
vote.
And to vote.
Well, and to vote. But, yes, and to vote, you also need to have your ID, right?
Yes.
But-
Yes.
Sorry, thank you for
Or you
clarifying
need
that.
or you need to know me.
Or you need to know,
So, prove it
or
true.
you need to know them. A lot of people know you, Len,
Yep.
but you might not know them.
True.
Finley?
I just wanted to confirm for my own sake, if you voted within the past 10 years, you will be on the checklist.
You should be, yes.
Yeah, should be, thank you. But, so, because I thought 4 years came into my mind.
I have a Facebook page that's elections.
Yep.
Go to there. There is a link to the or just go to the Secretary of State's website, and it says, "Am I registered?" Click on it and see if you are. If you are, you're fine. If you aren't, we'll
You
have to
aren't.
deal with you on the day of election.
Or there will be sign up here. There will be times that they can register in between now and then.
Yes, between now and then, yes, there are. Not for town meeting, not for school district meeting, but yes, for elections. There are 2 additional
Sign-up days.
supervisors sessions and again, I have posted those on the Facebook website.
And the other thing is that Monday through Friday, between now and April 12th, Town Hall, you can register to vote at Town Hall
Yes,
from 9 o'clock until close.
yep.
But that's register to vote, that's
That's
not
Just
register
come
to
in and-
vote.
and
That's not
register,
deliberative
yeah.
session, it's just
Yeah.
register to vote.
Okay,
Yep.
so that's a little confusing, but that's good. Any other questions on this part of the discussion? So you're expecting us to be wearing masks up at the,
I am
Up the
expecting
table.
you to be wearing masks.
even while speaking?
No, take them down when you're speaking, but I expect people to have masks on.
Put them back on?
Yep.
Okay,
I expect the public to do it, I expect you to do it. It's
wanted to
a
clarify that.
courtesy.
It is, I find it difficult to speak through a mask and be clear, so if it's okay to drop it while we're speaking,
Yes.
then I'm all right with that.
Yep, I have no problem with that. And like I said, we're trying to accommodate everybody and their feelings and
Right.
we'll make it work.
Okay, we'll make it work.
And I will need from you, I don't need it tonight, but I will need from you, who is planning on making motions,
We're
making
doing that
seconds? I don't need it tonight.
But we're doing it tonight.
Well, we could do it now, or we could wait and do it later on.
I don't have
if-
any-
If you don't care.
No,
I'll-
just,
Well, we'll get
I'll
you the
email it
list.
to you.
Paul will take care of it and get it to me so that I know who to recognize. If you're making a motion, you can say, I move, and you can read the motion, or you can just say, I move the article as printed. That's the simple way of doing it. We have a petitioned article. The petitioners are all set to do that, so then that's not an issue. If you're going to make an amendment, then we can talk about how you will do that. I don't see anything on the warrant that's gonna have an amendment, so I don't, if you think there is, call me, we'll talk about it. But I don't see anything
There
that's
isn't gonna be
there.
anything from us, I don't think. We've all approved what's there.
Yeah,
as
I don't
printed,
see
so.
anything on your warrant or on the school warrant that is gonna be anything that's,
Okay.
so.
It'll be a quick one.
Yep.
It'll be a quick one.
It, we'll see.
Oh,
Really? You just cursed us.
Did you say that? Did you,
He's responsible.
rookie move.
you,
That was a rookie.
you are responsible for him. You just,
She failed. Oh, gosh.
I don't anticipate anything strange or startling happening. Merrimack has been very good about the past 30-plus years that I've been doing this, and everybody's kind of they know what's gonna happen, they know how they need to behave, they know how it's gonna work. And other than Bob LaRue every once in a while getting some agita, but it works.
Yes.
And Merrimack is very polite, they're very respectful of their fellow citizens, and it's always been very good.
Yep.
So I don't expect anything different.
Okay, great.
We good?
I think that summarizes that, and we'll just hold off on discussing who's gonna make motions and stuff like that
Until we get
until
to
the
it.
end of the meeting, if that's okay. In the regular event, but it
And
was nice
just
to
let me
have the
know
chat
who
with
I
you.
need to
Yeah, we'll-
look at.
We will certainly get that to you.
If I don't, then I'm gonna look at somebody and say, you,
You always get it, though.
Yeah, I mean, we've always.
Daisy's not doing any of this, so,
Daisy's not,
no.
okay.
She has her cousin with her tonight, who is learning manners, so.
They're very well behaved.
I heard somebody
Anyhow.
say sit. I did hear that.
Yep,
Okay, if
We
there's,
good?
if there are no other questions on the deliberative session, we'll have another discussion to talk about the day of the vote? Or are you gonna just do it the same, do you wanna talk about that now too?
we wing it.
We'll wing it.
It
With what a-
works. Everybody
No, I know
knows
it does,
how
but-
it works, and so it works.
Yep.
So, I have no problem.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Lynn.
Okay, thank you.
Susan.
Yeah, we
That
can
was,
do that.
that was to Chris.
So, since we do have a large audience today, why don't we also move up number 1 under new business, ahead of legislative updates. So, committee appointments, submitted by the town council chair and vice chair, Tom Koenig and Finley Rothhaus. Town council consider appointing Maureen Tracy to the planning board pursuant to Charter
Sorry,
Article
it's down here.
4-8. We had
That's right, she's here
one
for-
appointment we wanted to bring forward for Maureen Tracy for a planning board alternate position. Finley and Bob Best and I interviewed her Tuesday, I believe it was, and felt that she would be a good addition as an alternate on the planning board. She's been involved in town for quite some time, and she's very active in a lot of different organizations, and is studying law, as I understand now, with a slight hiatus due to COVID and stuff like that. But, so the committee would like to, the interview committee would like to offer her that position. And so we look for any questions from the board or a motion to appoint Maureen.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Nancy Harrington and seconded by Barbara Healy to appoint Maureen Tracy to a 3-year term as an alternate on the planning board. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for Lynn. Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 7-0-0. Maureen, if you'd like to come,
Are you appointing anybody else?
not at the moment, no. If you'd like to come up. I can find where it is. And if you could read this portion here, that would be awesome.
Okay. I, Maureen Tracy, do solemnly swear and sincerely swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as an alternate member of the Merrimack Planning Board according to the best of my abilities, agreeable to the rules and regulations of this Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you.
If you sign it there, I can sign it for the town clerk, and then the council will just sign off on the appointments. And then I also have here
With one more appointment, which is sitting there, we will have a full board on the planning board. I want people to know. However, the zoning board still has 2 vacancies, so if people haven't figured out what they wanna do, it's only 1 meeting a month. Come apply, come do, we'll train you if I can do it. So please, come apply. Cody, down.
Yep, she said Cody.
You're now all set and officially in. That's great. As a planning board member.
Thank you.
And our meeting is Tuesday.
Tuesday.
This Tuesday. And we'll get you back.
We're gonna go.
Send out the close tomorrow.
This is my daughter's dog.
We get your email too. Do we have your email?
I think so.
She said, I'm a lucky lady.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and write it email?
She said, you put your nose down. She's about the same age as Daisy. She's probably 7. And she says, I'm not used to going to meetings, so I have to,
She's very
I'm working on my manners. Daisy knows her manners. Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
But she's a good dog. She's a good dog.
Thank you.
All right, Cody, come on.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you now.
Bye. We'll see you at the next meeting.
All right, Daisy, come on.
Okay, so we need to sign this around. We'll send it that way.
Might get lost over here though by the end of the night.
What's that?
Might get lost though.
Oh, it might. That's true. Didn't think about that. And if we could ask the Community Development Department to send Maureen a copy of the packet for Tuesday's meeting, she should be all set to be a participant as an alternate. What am I missing? Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they came,
They just passed out stuff today or sent
Yeah, they
out
got
stuff
mailed out
today.
today.
Yeah. So if you want her address, maybe you could forward your links
uh-huh.
that you got.
Yeah,
It's
you got it.
morningtracy@hotmail.com. It's written down on that paper, so we'll get it back to you.
CEY or CY?
I'll get it
At
back to you.
Hotmail, did you say?
That's a keeper for nostalgic reasons.
Yeah. Okay, where did we go? We did this. Pardon? Legislative updates from state reps. We have a state rep in the
Speaking of
room.
which,
Talk about an intro. Where's the drums?
Ed McMahon wasn't available, so.
Bill, welcome.
Thank you,
Good to have
Mr.
you here.
Chairman.
So did you have something you wanted to update us
Yeah,
on?
for the record, my name is Bill Boyd. I live at 139 Joppa Road. And I am a representative to the General Court for Hillsborough District 21, representing the town of Merrimack. I'm here because I sent out emails to you folks a couple days ago regarding the Transportation Improvement Plan, House Bill 2022, where there were two amendments that were proposed to the tip. One, which would move the tolling plaza from Bedford south of exit 10, proposing to put in the overhead tolling stations just south of exit 10. That was one amendment. And then the second amendment that was proposed was for the state to abdicate its responsibility to Continental Boulevard and thrust it back upon the town of Merrimack for their ownership and maintenance thereof. I'm pleased to report that the, pick your cliche, red herring, trial balloon, we did not in committee vote on the tolls. So currently in your, the state transportation improvement plan, it still recognizes Bedford as a place that will require future work and maintenance as part of the 10-year structure. Regretfully, Continental Boulevard has been put into the tip to be dedicated to the town of Merrimack. The vote was 21-2. I voted in the negative. I would catch heck if I did not vote in the negative.
You sure would.
And I'm proud to say that I was able to cajole Representative Bordas of Laconia to keep me company, hearkening back to my days of being the lone vote on a lopsided 6-1 end of a town council vote. So I had company, and I'm very grateful to Representative Bordas for standing up for Merrimack, and will not go unnoticed. So what does this mean? Well, it's going to go before a full house. It was not placed on the consent agenda. Once I'm done here, I go home, I feed my dogs, and I have to write the minority report, which will be in the House calendar. I suspect that we're going to be in session on March 10th, 17th, and the 24th, that this will be before the House for a vote, where obviously your delegation, your House delegation will be making the argument for my other House colleagues to not support the amendment to the Transportation Improvement Plan. Quite honestly, I have no idea how that's going to go. Should it pass the House, it would go to the Senate, and this is where I probably will be asking you folks to reach out to Senator Daniels, make sure Senator Daniels is aware of your concerns about what the Department of Transportation is trying to do to Merrimack. The key point, just for people at home so that they understand why that this is salient, is back in the day when the turnpikes were being developed, that section of Continental Boulevard, and for obviously most of you have lived here, so I apologize if I'm being redundant or patronizing, but that road was specifically to alleviate traffic off of 101 that were either heading into Nashua and looking to go north or south. It gave an alternative route, an additional artery for those coming from the west from Milford, or in some cases coming from the south part of Nashua, accessing that particular roadway to access the turnpike that way, which would alleviate some of the congestion down on 101. So from my standpoint, and I'm hoping I'm not speaking out of turn, Paul, from the Public Works Director's standpoint, that is a critical component to the state's infrastructure that they should be assuming responsibility for. It's not the town of Merrimack's responsibility. You know, we have our own issues with traffic running north-south on Daniel Webster Highway. We have our own issues as it relates to Babusick Lake Road and Turkey Hill Road and Natticook and Bedford Road as well. So we have our own challenges. The absorption of Continental Boulevard would add an additional $200,000 to the tax rate, and that's just for basic maintenance costs, plowing, sanding, upkeeping that particular roadway. Based on the analysis that was provided to all of us through the DPW director, we would be looking at increased staffing with benefits and potentially additional equipment just for that particular stretch of road. So it's an argument. It's an argument that continually needs to be made to the state legislature, both in the House and the Senate. There was one of the arguments that was made by one of the representatives in committee today was, well, since the tolls are down and since we paved the road and we're not done paying for paving the road, town of Merrimack should just assume responsibility. Now, the most salient point out of the representative's comments, and I didn't say anything, but the moment was not lost on me. And this is why when I sat where you sat for 10 years and this council made a policy commitment of paying for pavement in cash, the state DOT bonded $700,000 to pave that road, and they're still paying for it. So that's was made as an argument to the rest of the committee members about why the town of Merrimack should absorb that part of the road. Well, we whipped out our credit card, we paid for the bonding, and while we're not done paying for it, they need to assume the cost and continue, assuming to accept, their portion of the bargain for that particular road, which I didn't really appreciate that particular argument. I really didn't. And neither did Representative Borders, but, we were 2 of 23. So that's the one particular point that I wanted to make reference to. And then pivoting, which I know that Councilor Murphy and Councilor Harrington, I think will appreciate this. I still continue to sit. Once I was elected to the House, I was asked to rejoin the Drinking Water and Groundwater Advisory Commission, where I sat as the public member from the town council for 4 years. I rejoined back up in August of this year, and I'm very pleased to announce that the commission has approved a certain amount of monies. I believe it's $300,000 to private well owners in the state of New Hampshire, that they are allowed to be reimbursed for any remediation that you've done to improve the quality of your wells. And generally what that means is if you put in a home GAC system or the reverse osmosis home treatment system, you have the ability to submit, and there's a certain timeline. I think it goes back to, my mind is fuzzy right now. I think we agreed on September or October of last year. So there's a date certain coming forward. But if you've if you've tried to remediate your well and you fit the criteria, my commission is going to be in a position to reimburse you the cost of you funding your well treatment. I believe that is already up on the DES website. What I can do is I'll avail myself to send the link over to Paul, and through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm hoping that you would direct the town to put that link on the website, because, especially some of the well owners up on Bean Road that are just outside of that decreased circumference, obviously would potentially benefit from participating in that program. And it's a wonderful opportunity, and I certainly grateful that the commission saw fit to allocate and dedicate monies, not just to the town of Merrimack, but to other communities that have PFAS contamination in their wells. So those are the two particular things I wanted to bring to the council's attention. If there's anything else that I haven't addressed, I serve and sit at your pleasure, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Finley, you had a question or comment?
Actually, more of a comment. Your point that the Continental Boulevard stretch that they have proposed to give to the town is in fact a state road.
Correct.
For the reasons you enunciated.
That is correct.
And I don't know, it might be childish of me, but the first thing I will do is try and get my colleagues to shut that section of road down so that for a week or two, they can travel right down 101A and deal with that headache. So let them know that,
So-
that's what my plan would be.
And it's a fair point, Councilor Rothaus. What I would also suggest, and this didn't come up in conversation, I did have an offline conversation with Manager McCallie, and I have my marching order, so to speak, but if we are given this road, if we don't have any choice but have to take it, I want to make sure that we own it outright, that we can put in our curb cuts, that we can do what, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't want to interrupt you, but no, it's their road. And it's that's a massive road that to maintain
Yeah, it's 3
that
miles.
is
It's
not
3 miles of
cheap.
road.
It's
And,
like Daniel Webster.
Yep.
yeah, so,
Yep.
so that's where I am. They've pulled this all the time. It is childish to me to even suggest this, I'm sure, but it's childish to them for the games they've played for 30-plus years and more with the toll roads. Taking it away, I knew what the plan was. It was no surprise to any of us, I don't
No,
think.
when I sat where you sat,
We knew.
we've all been aware
Yeah.
that this was the
And
end game
and
for
the
the
through road
DOT.
tolling was coming,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree with you.
So no, that's my plan, and I let them deal with that headache for a little bit.
Okay. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Barbara?
Just making sure, when they give us the road, they're not gonna give us the bond too to pay
I
off,
hope
are
not.
they?
I'm going to find that out as well. That's on my list.
Good,
We'll
thank
definitely
you.
close the road then.
Too bad you can't get to the outlets.
Paul?
What Representative Boyd was trying to say before was that if they are going to give us the road, we get everything. We get their easements, we get their right-of-ways, we get everything. Because
No bond.
if we get everything, we can do exactly what Councilor Rothaus stated. If we do not get everything, the easements, the right-of-ways, we cannot shut the road down because the state has access to the
right-of-way.
right-of-ways, and we can't shut the road down. So we need everything from New Hampshire DOT, the easements, the right-of-ways, everything, if they're gonna give it to us. And they also need to know that that's an unfunded mandate, which it is.
Absolutely.
It's a big
Absolutely.
unfunded mandate, and we've talked about this for years here.
Yeah.
And the costs are only gonna keep going up as time goes on, so. And the other portion is that portion of the road, I don't believe, now, I wasn't involved back then in politics as much as I am now, but back then, I don't believe that Merrimack wanted that road. I think the state came
State
and
forced
took
us.
over,
That's
because we have a piece of property that's a school, and it's
That's
split on
bisected
both
by that,
sides
yeah.
of Continental Boulevard.
right. Cam
And
Section Road was split.
they put it in to alleviate the traffic on 101A from Amherst and Milford, so those people do not have to sit on the traffic. We used to take you an hour and a half to get down 101A to get there, and it was the state that wanted that road, it wasn't Merrimack. And most of the traffic that comes through there are not Merrimack individuals. It's
Exactly.
it's out-of-towners, and the traffic pattern is only gonna continue now that exit 10 tolls are there, gone. People are gonna start using that more in the Amherst area because it's easier to come down, get off at exit 10 to get to Amherst that way,
Right.
than try to get off at exit 8 and come up Continental, on 101A, so.
Yep.
Sorry, those were just,
Nancy
I'm
Harrington?
also curious, historically, if they had done this before at other towns and what's,
It's a good question. I don't know, Council.
you know, is this a precedent or is this something that's been done before?
They-
Or were they under similar those are the kind of things that's worth researching.
No, I agree with you.
Well, they did the north end of town. They do that occasionally, but this is purely a state road.
It
It's-
is.
Well, that's what I'm talking,
But you
when
go,
it's,
you know,
when
we,
it's a state road.
right, because all of Route 3 was a state road at one point, and years ago, they gave it to the town. And we didn't have a real say in that matter, but really, that's not major thoroughfare anymore. That Continental Boulevard is, from the traffic from the west, absolutely takes that road.
Yep.
And so that's why that is their road. And it should stay that way, but you know that.
Nancy Murphy?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Representative Boyd. A couple of questions. Actually, I think I have three. What did they state was the rationale for just turning this over, for the amendment? What was the motivator for that all of a sudden to throw that into the,
We got the toll relief.
that was, okay,
We got the
Yeah.
toll relief. That's pretty much,
That's irrelevant.
I
Which is totally
I agree with you,
relevant
but I'm
because it was
just,
paid for.
but that's there.
that's
their
that's their argument.
Yeah.
That's their argument.
Thank you, and just so I can thank, the two reps that voted in opposition were you and who?
Representative Michael Bordis of Laconia.
Borders, okay, that's
Borders.
great. Thank you. I will be sure to reach out and thank him.
Nice guy.
Yeah,
He's a good guy, absolutely.
okay, and then, third, was the PFAS rebate program you're talking about the $1,500 one?
Yes, that's the one that I am talking about.
Okay. I talked to Amy Russo from
Russo?
DES. Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
about that. And I think that might be one that we don't want to encourage Merrimack right now to go forward. It's not an option right now. Amy said it's, of course, it's pending fiscal and GNC approval.
Correct.
And so the apps aren't going to be accepted or anything yet. But I have the funding proposal. Two of the things. One is the date actually is going to change because Amy said that when she was doing the presentation to Amherst, that they, I guess because some of the funds are ARPA, that they had a September date, and I think that now has to be March of 2021.
Okay, so that's news to me.
Yeah, that was just new. She just
That's
discovered
news.
that. So she
That'll
wanted-
have to come back to the commission.
Yep, that was one thing. And then the other thing is because there may be other grant opportunities that Merrimack might be able to take part in if they were to accept and sign up for the $1,500, that would make them ineligible for
And
another
that's correct,
opportunity. So we just want to
And that's part of the criteria, so like when that would be part of the caveat for participating in the program, is you'd have to acknowledge that particular caveat that you allude to, Counselor.
Yeah, so, it's not, I just don't want Merrimack residents to jump at
up
that
and go
right
do
yet.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's great. It's great to see
Awesome.
some relief for private well owners.
Well, it's a first step for some people. I would like to see more, and when possible, I'm trying to advocate for more. I think that's about as much as I want to say right now on the topic.
Thank you for what you're doing. I know
Thank
you're
you, I
working
appreciate
hard.
awesome. Thanks for being here. Any other questions for Representative Boyd? Representative Boyd, thank you very much for being here tonight, and you're bringing this to our attention that this amendment was coming up. We knew it was a losing battle when we heard about it, but we still have a House floor vote
Correct.
to fight with.
We still got the Senate, so
And the Senate, and I'm sure Mr. Daniels will listen to us as well, so.
I hope so.
And just the
Nancy,
other thing,
again?
I'm just thinking, did you say when, that the vote was against the toll part, or there was not a vote taken on that?
So, it was, as I said, it was either a red herring or a trial balloon. Pick your cliche. It was floated to the committee. I had a copy of the amendment,
Yeah.
and it was never proffered in committee today. So I knew in advance that it was in the pipeline. The chairman chose not to introduce it. For what reasons, I don't know.
So did they issue a separate amendment? Because the amendment copies that I was able to
Correct,
see,
but
it's in there.
So, as I said, the Bedford Toll Plaza is still in the tip. So
So
that,
they-
when I say the Bedford Plaza is still in the tip, means
Yeah,
since the amendment was not proffered, since the amendment was not voted on, it technically doesn't exist.
so they submitted a different amendment.
They submitted the Continental Ball, there were two separate amendments,
Yeah.
742H and 745H.
45, yeah.
They were two separate amendments, they weren't like all lumped up as one.
And this is really good news, but my only concern is that when this goes to the Senate, if it gets approved in the House and goes to the Senate, the same thing could start all over again.
Oh, that's true.
So we can't let up and assume that toll isn't gonna show up back then. So the pressure has to be really on, and we're getting taken advantage of. And
It's interesting timing. I found
Yeah.
the Continental Boulevard is, I honestly wasn't surprised. Moving the tolls south, I kind of
Well, that was
sort of.
that was the proposal they wanted us.
That's
and
correct.
They said to us, if you take it, we'll get rid of the tolls.
Yeah.
So it's just a backwards.
Yeah. So,
Do you miss us?
I was waiting for Councilor Rothaus to say that. I'm sitting here go, okay, what question do I need to prepare Rothaus, does he miss us?
I always ask him that.
Yes.
He does. It's much better down here.
He's too busy talking. Yes. Of course, yes.
I warned him.
When you spend 10 years, every other Thursday coming here, and with respect to Councilor Hunter and Councilor Murphy, and having worked with, all of you, for an extended period of time, and, the offline conversations that you have when you're not sitting behind the rostrum, yeah, you miss those.
Have you had little tingles when your name's been mentioned?
I haven't even heard it, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't know. Who's taking over the job of making the motions?
Yeah, that was a bit of a pickle, wasn't it?
I'm doing it, I don't want it. Because
Counselor-
I'm just quite, well, where's Bill?
Councilor
We need to have
Harrington,
Bill.
I can only say this to you. I would say that you making the motions is a result of the benefits of a classical Jesuit education.
There you go.
Go Eagles.
There you go.
So,
Getting deep.
And his
absolutely getting deep.
All right,
Nice
thank you
building.
very much.
Okay, thank you very much. On
Thank
a
you.
personal note, thank you very much for your expressions to me and my family on the loss of my dad. I sincerely appreciate it very much. So,
You take care.
Okay.
thanks, folks.
Thank you. We also received a letter from Representative Maureen Mooney, it basically updating the exact same information. It said today Amendment 2022-0745H was adopted by the Public Works and Highway House Committee as part of HB 2022. See amendment attached. This amendment would transfer ownership of the state-owned portion of Continental Boulevard to the town no later than July 1 of 2025. We're disappointed that this amendment, one, was introduced in such a short time before the executive session, and two, was not brought to the attention of the Merrimack House delegation or town prior to this week, and three, had no public hearing, and four, passed in the committee. The Merrimack House delegation is considering next steps. Representative Boyd, who serves on the Public Works and Highways Committee, will be in attendance tonight with full details, which he just was. But that came from Representative Maureen Mooney for our benefit, and she included the attachment. Seeing no other reps, we'll move on. The town manager's report.
No report tonight.
Okay, we have no consent agenda tonight, which brings us to old business. Merrimack Private Well Owners PFAS Grant Program Reimbursement Policy Discussion submitted by Town Manager Paul McCallie. The Town Council to discuss a Merrimack Private Well Owners PFAS Grant Program Reimbursement Policy for reimbursement for the installation of a point of entry system or hookup to MVD public water.
So, about November, December timeframe, the council gave the go-ahead for the town of Merrimack to apply for $1 million worth of ARPA relief money for private well owners in the town of Merrimack. And when we were looking at the private well owners, is that we got word back from the state saying that we are approved for the $1 million. However, there are next steps that are needed to be done, and one of the next steps is to put a policy in place for reimbursement of these individuals. I took a first stab at a policy with Councilor Murphy on this, and came up with some language there. I ran it by our legal counsel, and they've added some items. What it really is it's the purpose was to access safe drinking water. The town of Merrimack will reimburse homeowners for a POET or connection to MVD water systems up to $6,500. This $6,500 cannot be combined with any state or local federal grant opportunities available at the time of the request. The private well owners must be located in Merrimack and must be outside the St. Cobain consent decree area. And I attached it, but I do have what were famously known as the red and blue lines. So basically, if you look at this map, I know it's kind of small for people at home, but we're talking the, outside the blue lines is the Bean Road area. Basically, if you go to Brianna, and then just to the easterly side of Bean Road, all the way up to Babuzik Lake Road, that's part of the consent inside, going down Babuzik to McQuestion, to Turkey Hill, to Amherst, to Route 3, and then coming back around the Thornton Road. That's inside the consent decree if you go easterly towards the Merrimack River. Westerly would be, anybody outside of that would be considered for this reimbursement program. So people at Troll Bridge Road, Great Stone Drive area, Old Road, some homes on Bean Road too as well, Wilson Hill Road, those people would be able to come in and get this reimbursement, and it's a first come, first serve reimbursement. The town of Merrimack, I want to say one thing. The town of Merrimack did not set this blue outer limit line. We were not involved. This was a negotiation between the state of New Hampshire and St. Gobain. We were not involved with the negotiations. This was their consent decree that they have signed. Consent.
We wanted to say.
Yeah, consent decree that they signed. So moving forward, that's what we're looking at, the homeowners outside of that area. Anybody in the red or blue technically are underneath a different funding source, and that was what New Hampshire DES and the state to get those homeowners safe drinking water. So how to apply. The reimbursement program will run from X date to, I said, December 1st, 2024, or until the grant funds run out. Payment is reimbursement only for installation of the system and hookup. We will not be paying any related expenses for changing out filters or carbon or anything of that sort. We're just trying to get the systems into people's homes, and that's what this grant is for. The other thing that was said is that if it's a financial hardship, you can apply with estimates and things of that sort, but the town is not recommending any vendors to do the work. The town is not privy to any of the work. This is between the homeowner and a contractor. They make the payment to the contractor, and then they come in and get reimbursed up to $6,500 for reimbursement. There's a reimbursement form about address. You have to attach a receipt or a quote if it's a financial hardship. And then it's for 4 contaminants of PFOA only. It's for PFHXS, PFNA, PFOS, and PFOA. And those are regulated by the state of New Hampshire, and those are the limits that were set by the state of New Hampshire for those limits. And if you're exceeding those levels, then you can apply for reimbursement. If you're below the state levels, you would not be eligible for reimbursement of this program at this time. And like I said, this was a jumping off point because in order for us, I have to fill out more paperwork with the state to get these grant funds. And this is one of the things that they wanted. They wanted to know how it was administered. Do you have a policy? How are you going to move forward with these individuals in these individual homes?
Okay, so we've been approved for the grant, but we still have to qualify for it, and part of that qualification is this policy needs to be in place.
Yes.
Okay, and this is just an initial stab at the values, and so if anybody has any changes or suggestions or recommendations, now would be a good time to start bringing them up.
Right.
Barbara?
Yeah, the only thing I didn't see in here was some reference to an implementation date. So is it within a certain number of days once we get the state approval to continue?
Actually, Councilor Murphy can expand upon that better because she's been in touch with Amy, but in the paperwork that she did give me tonight, there is a start date. They do have it's March 3rd of 2021 after that, because this is ARPA money.
Okay.
So, for us to begin, but at the time when we were writing some of this stuff, we didn't know. You know, we were thinking we could go back to anybody from 2016 forward, but no, because the money is from March 2003, 2021.
Mr. Chair, may I ask another question?
So,
And on page 1, you have a date of 9/30/2019.
that's the date you need to change?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Nancy Murphy?
Thank you. I want to thank Town Manager McCallie for helping me, for letting me weigh in on some of these things. And I was able to talk to Amy today, Amy Russo from DES, who happens to be she happens to be the administrator of this fund. And she's overseeing that $1,500 fund that Representative Boyd was just talking about. And as Paul said, some of, the information we were given has changed. We're just finding out about it, which is why things are still sort of in draft form. The next step, of course, is for our town manager to submit the final application. But, she said the money has been approved for us. After the application is submitted, it will be processed by Amy and then goes to Governor and Council for approval. I asked her about a time frame on that, and she said they're doing some hiring, there's some different changes, but she thinks probably within 2 to 3 months. So she said, so you guys have some time, we're not locked into too many things. She said once it's had Governor and Council approval, it will be ready to go and the apps can go out. It will be the same thing for that other $1,500 loan that she was talking about. Because, as Paul said, these are ARPA funds. We thought that they would be retroactive to September of 2019, and she has been told now that they can only be retroactive till March 3rd, and the end date is December 31st, 2026. So she said we could certainly change that. Given that there will take some time. Of course, when the funds expire, if they expire before then the rebate program is over. She said right now I've seen some questions on social media about DES testing private wells, and I think it's important for private well owners to know that when they call DES, they are told that there is no guarantee that DES will test those wells. But according to Amy, especially those homeowners, private well owners in Merrimack that are receiving the letters that are saying they're within 500 feet of a contaminated well. She said, we can't say definitely, but those are our targeted wells anyway. And she said, right now, because they are targeting wells in Merrimack, it's a good time, they're already here. She said, so it's much more likely that those things will happen. Not to say that the people that are just signing up on the website, that won't happen as well. But she said, we've got to get through all the targeted wells first. So she said, but when people call, they are told. She goes, they will hear the words, we can't promise you testing, but she said, just so you can pass on the information. It's very highly likely that anybody that received one of those letters will get tested. She also shared that as of the end of January, over 3,500 private wells in New Hampshire were found to exceed those PFAS, AGQS, including 98 in Merrimack. I don't have the number, which ones were inside the CD and outside. But I'm delighted that we really have this opportunity. The other thing that Amy shared was New Hampshire DES has been working really hard on overhauling their whole website. So within she said, it'll probably take at least a month. The whole website will be different. All of the links will be different. So for us to print up and figure out an application and links, they would all be wrong. So it's sort of, so there's a number of things that have sort of got in the way of drafting. I had a question just about the program itself. Amy shared the application that they are basically using as a sort of an example for that $1,500 program. So she emailed that, and I'll share it with everybody and Town Manager McCallie. And also the actual the proposal that they're using for that $1,500. She said you can use as sort of a foundational copy for yourselves. The only other thing that she said, oh my gosh, like mental block, can't remember what it was. Something about don't know, just lost it. I know. The only other thing is in that $1,500 rebate program, the options are POU, POET, so the point of use, like a reverse osmosis, is an option. Those people applying for that loan, that rebate, can use it to buy, to reimburse them for the purchase of a point of use treatment. Also for point of entry treatment, so for that, water coming into a house, that's included, or the accessing a public water service that's already in place. So that particular grant program offers those three options. When we talked earlier, we had just listed two, which is the whole house, or the point of entry, and the hookups to MBD. So I don't know, should there be consideration of adding a point of use or not? I just, even though the application went in, she said those are all things you could still change. So I just wanted to bring that up, that's another option that the other grants will allow for. And some people may want to be hooked up to public water, but don't have that opportunity, so that only would leave them the point of entry. So, just wanted to raise that as as just another maybe point for discussion. But so thank you.
So I don't have any heartburn over including the point of use treatment into this as well. I don't know what other people think. I mean, I can't imagine wanting to go that direction unless you're really strapped or something like that. But I just wanted to clarify for anybody that's listening, the two funds are separate and independent. They cannot be overlapped, right? If you go with the town's 6,500, you can't go with the water commission's 1,500, or vice versa. There's a big difference in the numbers, and so seems like it'd be obvious which way you go. But did you want to add to that?
I just want to add one thing, and I mentioned that because I was concerned that people may be confused about what options they have, and we certainly want Merrimack residents to have the greatest option. And I know Paula shared the other day that DES had notified the town of the wells that were already the private wells that had exceedances. But I wondered about what was going to happen going forward for wells that not yet tested. And I said, it's certainly important for the town to know that. And Amy shared, which was a great thing, in terms of the not double dipping or trying to apply for both things. What she said was that when people, when that $1,500 grant comes out and we have ours, what she said was when the DES does testing, they will have a list of all of the wells in our town. They will notify our town, and then they will notify, they will pull out Bedford, and she said Bedford, Amherst, and Merrimack, because all three may be taking part in separate programs. So, and making those communities now aware that there are other options. So that was helpful, so that it's not just left to the town, the DES will be doing that as well.
Will the well owners be notified of the program?
Yes,
Based upon what you just said?
that's my understanding, from DES, yes.
Because I was concerned about how would those people find out.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned something.
Yeah, at least DES said that if people applied for the $1,500 loan, or grant, that they would be notified. I think my understanding is that it probably is going to be upon testing, when there's that exceedance, then they will be made aware that there are these grant
There are
opportunities.
options available.
Yeah, and Merrimack's will be pulled out and separated, so they don't sort of sign up for the wrong one.
But it's important that people to understand that this Merrimack program requires that your well have been in exceedance before you put in anything, and therefore, and is no longer in exceedance after you put in something in order to get this reimbursement. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Any other questions? Lon?
Yeah, I may be jumping the gun, but the 3 pages that we were presented in our packet regarding the Merrimack Private Well Owners PFAS Grant Reimbursement Program, on page 2, or the second page of the draft, the paragraph that begins, "This grant cannot be used,"
Yeah.
the second sentence doesn't have a subject. it says must be outside the SGPP consent decree area. I understand that, but what must be outside? If you're gonna,
The contaminated well must be.
Yeah, or,
whatever you wanna call it, but the sentence with no subject, either get rid of the sentence or put a subject in it.
okay,
And must be,
yeah, just to make it clear what we're talking about,
if you put
Good
and,
catch.
I think it takes care of it.
and must be.
Get rid of the period.
Yeah.
His name is,
And the subject, well, yeah,
I don't know, I mean, I just,
I would think you need to say the subject well, or something like that, but anyway.
We can
You can,
wordsmith that.
you can wordsmith that out as
to
you clean up
put-
the
put
other
the subject
dates and
in.
addresses and
My
stuff like that.
freshman high school
Yeah,
English
I-
teacher right
I-
now is ready to smack me over the knuckles.
Any other thoughts,
Barbara had.
Barbara?
And of course, when you've got it all tied together in a nice, neat little package, you're going to put it on the website.
Correct.
And you are going to, maybe put it on Facebook and refer it over to the website.
Yes. We will, there are,
There's a lot of places we can
yeah,
put it.
there are 75 homes, I believe, that we've been notified of through the state that is outside of the
Consent decree.
the
blue
the famous blue lines. Once we get everything approved, like I said, the first step is getting a policy, second step is getting the funding. Once the state says, yes, you got the funding, we'll have to hold a public hearing. Once the council accepts that money, then we will be sending letters out to those homes that we know that are outside the blue area, that are over exceedances of either one of four of these items, and let them know that there is this program out there, and if they did already put one in, you can
Get reimbursed.
reimbursed as long
Reimbursed.
as it's after March
the date, March 3rd.
2021. Or if you're thinking about it, but you gotta get it in because it's first come, first serve.
But, okay, you said the amount that we were approved for was how much?
About $1 million.
Well, that's a lot of $6,500.
It's about 180 wells.
Okay,
Because at the time when we were putting it in, we were at 70. So we just doubled that and added a couple more in there. And I think we went for pretty much the maximum. I think we were given, like 1.2 or 1.1 million was the total. There are some administrative fees that we are allowed, $70,000 worth of administrative fees on top of the $1 million because we're gonna be, finance is gonna
yeah.
be sending out everything, the
Letters
checks and.
taking applications and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
and then
yeah.
we're gonna have to review them, so, that's the other thing, we didn't put whether we're gonna have a committee of 3 or 4 individuals that are gonna review these and, approved, denied, and things of that, so we haven't come up with that portion of it yet, but there are steps to go along, so it's not like Councilor Murphy said, we're not getting the money tomorrow, the checks aren't gonna start going out tomorrow, we're looking probably around July's timeframe before one of the first checks will go out. But this is some benefit to some of these homeowners because it has been some hardships on some of these people. I've sat in several calls with New Hampshire DES and residents where they're saying, I can't afford this, and they are literally feet away from the blue line. And then DES is like, nope, sorry, you're outside it. It's
We
on
can't do
you.
it yet, yeah.
We can't help
Thank
you.
God we have this.
Right.
Nancy,
I had a quick question. Now, my understanding, I had spoken to Nancy Head, because I had a couple of questions. We're not ready to approve this yet, is that correct? Because there has to be some changes to the links. And there's some language stuff, Nancy. Did you talk to Paul? Because I'm wondering, what do we do with this?
I was
My
gonna ask that question
concern,
too.
my concern was, which I asked Nancy and I got the following answer, is that I didn't want to delay this if this was going to have an impact on the people who need it. And I was assured by Nancy that, no, we have 2 or 3 months, our position is basically locked, so our money's not going to go anywhere. And there has to be some communication with Amy about some suggested language too. So we have 2 or 3 months.
I would
to
not,
work with.
I would not wait the 2 or 3 months. I would
Right. I
want to get
understand.
my final application in.
But
sooner than
this
possible.
isn't ready yet, or is it?
It's, like I said, it's a
Because I'm
jumping
hearing
off.
two different things.
It's a jumping off point. The links are gonna change because when DES but like anything else, even if we approved this 3 months ago,
True.
we're gonna have to change the links, and the links are on the second page.
Correct.
And it just links to DES, so we'll just have to change where we're linking to in the memo once we put it online, because, or where it is.
So I guess my question is to Nancy then.
My suggestion would be that, given some of the things that we found out from Amy today, and also, like we had a discussion that point of use, that
Add
wasn't in
that
here.
in,
So I
yeah.
I feel like there's a few details that sort of have to be massaged and sort of come together, and then I think, and I agree with Paul, I wouldn't want to wait that
Oh,
long.
I understand.
I certainly don't.
trust.
But,
Exactly.
exactly, and he's been working, he's got the final application. But
So,
I would just like to see it massaged a little bit more, and
Are there any other comments from the council that they would like to see included in this policy? And I would not want to bring it, I'd like to bring it back by March 24th.
I have no, soon is great.
Yeah.
Right.
But we can't do it tonight is my point.
Yeah.
Unless there are,
Unless you're willing to accept that he's gonna fix the things that we've talked about.
right.
I'm open to any suggestion. I just know we can't do it as is.
No. And I could
There,
bring,
there would be adjustments. yeah.
there are gonna be some adjustments because, and like we did with the fire truck and being able to use ARPA, these rules are changing pretty much. They're writing the rules as they go, basically. And
I
that's
mean,
what's really
I'm
happening.
comfortable allowing the fundamental content to be accepted with modifications for the links and additional of the,
POUT.
PO,
point of use
yeah, that
treatment,
too.
Yeah.
And any others, minute changes related to what you might hear from DES. Like, make sure to include this. I'm okay with that, because I trust you to, I think the body's fine. I
Yeah,
could
I'm
make it
good
a
with the
motion.
concept as it is and willing to let you go through and clean it up and make it good.
So I'll make
I
a
mean,
motion
I don't
to
know.
basically accept it with the modifications. And you want me to list the modifications?
Discussed.
As
As
discussed.
modifications that were discussed. That's perfect.
Second.
Motion by Nancy and seconded by Barbara. Any other comments? Nancy Murphy?
I would just ask that before we accept that with just limited modifications, that the town manager be able to review the new information that Amy just said today. And I just feel like there are, and I'll give you an example why. Certain process and administration things that I don't know whether he would think it appropriate to consider for the, this thing. Whether, what will be required for proofs that the state is requiring. And I would just like to see us.
Well, that's why I'm
be
saying
in
after
alignment with-
deliberation with Amy,
Yeah,
there
okay.
might be modifications.
Okay, yeah,
So we've discussed it, so that's part of it.
okay, yeah.
Because she might have, you're right, very specific language that should be included, which I trust you
And
could incorporate.
and those are technical details that I'd be expecting to get put in. Barbara?
Right, because as you say, they're doing this as they go along. So as they think of things, they're gonna contact folks to say, well, this is a new wrinkle that we're including. So, I mean, that could be going on for the next, God knows how long. But I think it's important to get this done and get it out as soon as possible, because as we have found out, the state giveth and the state taketh away. And yes, I'm on record saying that.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 7-0 to approve this in principle with changes per the discussion we've had tonight.
Great.
And further discussion with Amy Russo
Thank you.
for technical details.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was all business. We've done number 1 already under new business. Number 2, under new business, consideration of changes to Chapter 178, taxation of the Merrimack Town Code, first reading. We discussed this previously, but it's now coming with changes. And one change that was already pointed out to me was that the 80-year age and older should be 150 and not 125,000. But if there's any other discussion or thoughts on this. I think this is as we discussed, except for that one minor change.
So this is the first read of the policy that you asked me to bring forward for changing the elderly exemption. And basically what it says is for persons 65 years of age up to 75 years, $85,000, the new amount. years of age up to 80 years, $115,000, and 80 years of age or older to $150,000, which were the discussion, that discussion we had and the amounts that the council asked to be brought forward.
And we didn't talk about making any adjustments to any of the qualifying income amounts or any of
Nope.
that kind of stuff,
Nope.
right? Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay, any other comments from counselors at this point? So we need a motion to move this to a second reading or public hearing.
So moved.
Second
Second.
reading would be a public hearing. Motion made by Barbara Healy, seconded by Andy Hunter. Finley? Oh,
I was jumping the gun.
you keep lifting your hand. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? 700. Sorry. Good. So that's great. Thank you. We're we're tabling number 3, consideration of changes to Chapter A198. There's a few technical details in there we needed to review
Oh,
and
and I
clean
was
up.
all ready.
Well, if you have any adjustments or changes,
No, I
I would
don't.
ask that you offer those to Paul or Becky so that we can get them cleaned up. But there were a few things that we wanted to change in there that didn't get changed in this first draft. We just thought it'd be better
Yeah.
to pull it back and bring it out to the next meeting.
Yep.
So that brings us to number 4 on the agenda, which is a deliberative session discussion. I thought we were gonna do that earlier, but Lynn wasn't interested in the details. She just wanted to give us the information earlier, so, don't jinx us now, Lon. So the question is, with the warrant, we usually have somebody originally signed up to move the motion, specifically with the language Len was talking about. I move Article 3 as printed, or you can read it all out and move it that way. But if you're changing any of the wording, that becomes an amendment she would like to have in writing. So if you decide to change the numbers, don't. We don't do anything with Article 1 because that's the town election. Article 2 is the operating budget.
Nope, that's the
No.
bond,
Article 2 is what?
wastewater bond.
Wastewater treatment bond?
Yep.
So we need to know if anybody's interested in moving and seconding that.
I just think the new people need a little bit of explanation.
Well, I
Yeah.
thought I gave it to them, but if you want to add to that, please do.
If you move it,
So
you get to
there.
talk about
So
it.
basically, we have to volunteer to be the first mover and then the seconder. And when you do that, you just say, as you mentioned, but you usually take a minute to talk about it. To be able to
Absolutely.
explain the intent, or if there's like, I'm going to volunteer to do Article 5, which has to do with the capital reserves. I think that's something that has to be explained to the public, and capital reserves are basically savings accounts. And we're putting this reflects how much we're putting in. So usually it's just a couple of minutes of explanation. So, in this list, after we decide, that list gets sent to Lynn, so she knows who to expect to raise. I'm gonna move, I'm gonna second.
Yeah,
So
Lynn,
that's all.
as you pointed out, Lynn will acknowledge the motion and the second, and then she will offer the opportunity for the person who made the motion to speak to it first.
Right.
And then it'll be open to discussion within the deliberative session. Lon?
Well, since Nancy opened the bidding, I volunteer to present Article 7.
Can we go through it from, in numerical order? I appreciate
I've
that.
already taken.
I appreciate
That's
that.
we took
Picked your favorite, huh?
No. No. Okay, so number,
So
Article
Article 2
2 will
is
be
the-
presented
the-
by Sarita and that group, right?
They would be, but it will be presented if we want to do a presentation.
Oh, we do.
Okay, so there'll be a presentation. It'll be kind of like what we had
Right.
here that night. We just need a person to
To
move it.
move the article. Does anybody want to move the wastewater treatment bond
Nobody else.
article? Huh?
Andy,
gonna do it, I'll take.
Andy?
Yeah.
Does anybody
And
want to
I'll
volunteer to
second.
second?
I'll second.
Nancy H.
So Andy, what you would do is you'd move in, and then she said, would you like to talk to her? You say, I'd like to defer to Sarita.
Smart move.
You can say 3 or 4 words if you want. You can say anything you want, but then you have to answer all the questions. So you might want to defer it to Sarita. And hopefully, I mean, Lynn might choose to say she's only got a minute to make a presentation or something, but it depends on the crowd and how
Sometimes
things
Lynn's
are.
like, no, we don't want you to do a presentation, or it's a 5-minute presentation, make it fast.
But a $10 million bond,
She should,
she
we
should allow us
we
a
should
few
have-
minutes at
Previously,
least.
that she's.
Yeah, she has.
I just have to tell her that we have a presentation, and then she'll tell me, okay, you got 10 or 15 minutes
Yeah,
for it.
it's- If it's like deliberative sessions have been, there's plenty of time.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
I think.
so Article 3 is by petition. We don't do anything with that. They will move and second that one.
So I do want to say one thing. I was remiss. I was wrong. DRA called us up and said the council should have put a recommendation on it for deliberative session. And I had the discussion with them to give our point of view that this is it automatically went to the warrant,
Whether we wanted
whether
it to or
they
not.
wanted to or not. And we technically didn't have to have a public hearing on it because it went to it, but because we knew it was a bond, that we did all this stuff. And just in the future, know that if there's a money petition warrant article, DRA, the system that they have set up in DRA, you have to have either a recommend or not recommend going forward.
But we don't have to do it this
But we don't
time.
have to do it at Department of Revenue Administration, which Gardner, the MS 636 and all the warrants and all that thing. Because what they could do is they could say illegal warrant article and kick it out if it passes or not passes. So we had a very nice conversation, Tom and I, with our auditor on it. And
That
she
Tom,
just,
Not me.
yeah, Tom Bowen, the finance director. But I just wanted to point out that I did say we didn't need to make a recommendation because it goes automatically to it, but DRA has a difference of opinion and says the town council next time
In the
should make a
future.
recommendation.
So after the deliberative session, we should take a vote.
You have to take a vote after deliberative session, one way or the other.
As it is, we put it in as 000 because we
Yeah.
didn't
We
take a
always
vote
do
on
that,
it.
yeah, okay.
But it will be one of the things we'll cover after the deliberative session. We will have a meeting immediately following the deliberative session to reevaluate our recommendations based on any changes or additions or adjustments that happen at the deliberative session. Yeah, don't leave,
Can't leave.
because we have to have that meeting. Yes.
Then I will need some information from Public Works as to the type of impacts this might have on our plans as we go forward with our capital projects and things that we do each year. So so to do this after the deliberative session, that's a 2-minute meeting practically, and so I might need some information.
We're
for
working
it.
on it.
Okay.
We're working on that.
You're right, Phil, I agree.
No, we are working on getting that.
Because we didn't have to pay too much attention. But now
Because
that we're
those
going to
questions
make a
may come up during the
determination-
deliberative session when the petition is offered, and so that may get taken care of at that point.
But we are working on getting that information. We'll have it definitely before deliberative session.
Great. Thanks.
Okay, so we don't do that one. Article 4, the operating budget is normally, I'll offer to
Okay.
move that,
I'll second.
normally done by the chair and vice chair.
Yeah. And I'd like to do Article 5, please.
Article 5, okay. Nancy's gonna move,
But we need a second.
Second.
and seconded by Barbara. The idea is to get everybody involved, so if you haven't said anything yet, think about saying something.
So if you don't volunteer, you'll be assigned.
I don't mind doing it.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Six, the fire truck's not there.
Oh, that's right. I definitely.
6 is the capital reserve fund for the sewer infrastructure capital reserve, $500,000. Anybody want to volunteer to do that one?
Yeah, I can do that. I don't remember what it was.
Barbara? Huh?
I'll have to-
Well, it's like the regular town capital reserve funds, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
It
it's for the
says savings
sewer.
account just for that.
So
Basically,
it's
all you have
just
to
a
say is
straight
what
500.
Nancy said.
Huh?
Basically, all you have to say is
I
say
will
what
have done
Nancy
it
said.
beforehand, yes, like that.
Who's going to second that one?
I'll second.
Andy? Okay. Article 7 is the collective bargaining.
And Lon wants to do that,
Lon wants to
right,
do
Lon?
that. And seconded by
Nancy.
Nancy Murphy. And then Article 8 is an adjustment to the town charter.
Get
You're going to
that.
do that one? Moved by Nancy Murphy.
I'll second it.
Do you have 2 that you're doing already, Barbara?
Yeah, I'm seconding another one somewhere along the,
But you're moving 1, right?
yeah,
Can we let Lon second that one?
absolutely.
Seconded by Lon for number 8.
And that's it.
And that's it, right? You got that list, Paul, so you can forward it to Lynn? Because my scratching isn't gonna work.
I will forward it to Lynn and copy everybody else. If you want any information, please reach out. We'll be more than happy to provide it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I need to work with you on a budget discussion. I don't think we're gonna present anything special about the budget. We'll just talk about the major changes and adjustments as we've done in the past. You might have your budget presentation available. I really would be surprised if that comes up as a request, but
I would recommend those major dramatic increases, the communications, and what, there was 2 or 3.
well, the SAFER grant, communications,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the communications, that is not part of the SAFER grant, but the SAFER grant. I mean, that was how much?
About $800,000
I
all
mean,
said
so
in
that's,
total with
On
those
each.
big blocks.
right, so that's 1.5 million there.
Right.
Those 2 of them are 1.6 roughly.
Yeah. plus
So
or
that's,
minus.
the those are the
Those kind of things
highlights.
are the things we're gonna try and highlight.
Right.
And I'm gonna pull that out of Paul's
Yeah.
report, and I'll work with him to make sure I get the numbers right, too. But we're gonna try and just do it verbally, so I should have a few words written up.
Yeah.
At least I have a few weeks before that happens. Any other questions about the deliberative session, how that's gonna run? Lynn has asked us all to have masks. We
Okay.
probably need them for being in the school building anyway, or something like that. No, they've
No
taken
more.
that off?
Yep.
But for the deliberative session, she's said that she's gonna request everybody to wear masks or sit in the back bleachers or something like that. But you don't have to wear the mask during, when you're speaking. Just keep it with you and sort of like pretend like you're eating or something.
I'll put a pretzel in my mouth.
The acoustics,
The acoustics can get rough, yeah. So if there's no other questions, we'll move on. Right? Right.
Yep.
Okay. So that brings us to minutes. We have a whole stack of minutes to approve tonight. January 19th, 3 of these were tabled from last meeting, but I didn't have my copies from them, so I don't. Anyway, January 19th, town council meeting, which was a budget discussion.
I know.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes of January 19th? Moved by whom?
so
Moved.
Barbara Healy, seconded by Nancy Murphy. Any changes, additions, corrections? No? No? So the minutes of January 19th have been offered as printed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? I don't know if everybody was there.
Yeah,
think
these are
Finley
the
was not.
budget.
I thought it, no, you were there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. So that, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Did I do that already?
Yes.
Aye. And it passed 7-0. Okay, good. All right. Moving right along. January the next, 26th minutes.
Yeah, the budget
Also a town
meetings are-
council budget. Pardon?
The budget meetings are usually a lot more direct and clear.
Mm-hmm. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Nancy Harrington, seconded by Andy Hunter, to accept the minutes of January 26th,
as
Wednesday,
printed.
6:30. Any changes,
I didn't-
corrections?
Oh, she,
Barbara?
Yeah.
eagle eye.
On page 1, line 12, it says Mr. Kasparius was present first to the council. I think you can just take out the was and just say presented first to the council. And then on page,
Was presented first? What, huh?
just say it was.
Oh, he presented, not
yeah,
was presented.
Was, yeah.
but he presented.
And on page 5, this is line 211 and line 215. It talks about the Severance Bridge. It's really Severance Bridge.
So severance is really severance.
Yeah. So, and that's all I have.
Line 211, page 5. Apparently they've got a new numbering system and, or okay, and 215? Yep. Okay, if there's no other changes, the motion is to accept the minutes with corrections. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 7-0. January 27th, which was a regular town council meeting. Is there a motion to accept the minutes from January 27th? Moved by Nancy Murphy, seconded by Andy Hunter. All those, any additions, corrections, changes, or adjustments? Or whatever words to those minutes? One of these I know I had something, but
I actually have something.
all right, Paul, we'll recognize you.
Thank you. Page 6, line 9, line 15, line 23. The age limit is 65 to 74, not 64. So it should be 65, and that is by state statute.
What is that talking about?
It's the amounts for the different.
You're talking about the elderly?
It's written as 64
Okay.
to 74. It should be 65.
But we just we're changing these numbers. What? Did we discuss this in the meeting? I mean, this is where we were discussing changing those numbers, right?
But not the ages.
At the very point, 43 talks about this increment suggestion. That's
where the Okay.
85, 115.
All right,
Yeah.
okay, never mind, thank you. Any other corrections?
Can I,
Seeing none?
just a question? Paul, did you
Barbara?
say that the 80-plus-year-old group was 150?
Yes.
It says it on line 43.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Sorry.
Well, that's the original. That's what he was evaluating. That's what I was confused earlier as well, so.
What it is,
I could've sworn I had something in here. All right, if there's no other corrections, we'll accept the minutes as corrected. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 7-0. February 3rd. Looking for a motion to accept the minutes of February 3rd.
So moved.
Andy? Moved by Andy. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Lon.
Okay.
Do you have any adjustments, changes, corrections, or anything else? Andy?
Not sure-
Nancy?
Yep, thank you. Not sure if it matters, but on line 24 and page 1, New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay.
It's insignificant change, really, but
Any other adjustments or corrections? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the minutes as corrected, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That's 7-0-0. February 10th. We're almost there. This was a long one, 16 pages. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of February 10th? Moved by Nancy Murphy, seconded by Barbara Healy. Any corrections or adjustments? Hearing no modifications. Are we ready to move to a vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 7-0-0. And that was the last of our, there were more motions. I don't- Why is there this extra page here? Oh. That was sent out a while back. Okay. That brings us to comments from the press, comments from the public, comments from the council. We have time.
Seeing none, I make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn by Lon Wood, seconded by Barbara Healy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? That passes 7-0-0. Thank you very much, folks, and good night, Merrimack.